Hello, do you like New Japan Pro Wrestling? Are you a Shin Nihon freak? If so, check out the Super J-Cast with Joel and Damon on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network.
And even if you fucking hate New Japan Pro Wrestling, listen to the Super J-Cast anyway. Not just for our great show reviews, analysis, and pastrami sandwiches, but there's also usually some dick jokes somewhere in the obligatory opening 30 minutes of absolute nonsense we chat about every single week. That's the Super J-Cast for all the best talk about New Japan Pro Wrestling, crisps, and pornography.
Wrestling Omakase is back, baby. The weekly podcast that takes you across all the top promotions on the entire Japanese wrestling scene, from New Japan Stardom, Noah, DDT, All Japan, Mari Gold, Dragon Gate, Tokyo Joshi, Sendai Girls, and a whole lot more. I'm John Carroll, a fan of Japanese wrestling for over 20 years, and every week I'm joined by a rotating cast of guest co-hosts as we break down all the top promotions in Japan, men's and women's. Check out Wrestling Omakase right here on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network today.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Welcome back to another episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Hungee here on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. My name is Tyler Fornes. With me, as always, is Fred Moreland, who is ready to get hot. How are you?
Doing all right, buddy. Looking forward to the All Out show. It's been kind of a quiet week in terms of AEW news. I guess we can talk about, like, Andrade getting let go by WWE and how I hope he doesn't come into AEW, but I mean that's about the most newsworthy thing I think outside of like on-screen stuff for the past week. Pretty quiet. So
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want Andrade to come into AEW because I think it will be funny and it will end poorly, and that will be entertaining. Other than that, I think he's probably just going to CMLL, and that's actually probably a good thing.
Probably. He would have been perfect for like pre-WWE AAA, you know, that like the scummiest promotion, I guess. Would have fit right in, but of course he's obviously not going there since he just got like in by WWE. But one of the all-time what ifs, you know, what if you weren't like apparently the hardest person to work with?
TNA superstar Andrade.
I don't think he's going to TNA. With WWE, with air hooks, you know, in there too. So it's not great for Andrade. He picked a real bad time to be unpopular, but
something like that, yeah.
Great performer.
Well, Fred, we have a fun show today. It's heat check time, baby.
Yeah. We're gonna. If you're not familiar, what we're going to do is go through and review they have 13 matches announced, which congratulations Tony Khan on being out ahead of it. We're going to kind of reflect on the build of the show. We're going to talk about how excited we are for each match. And on a 1 to 10 scale, with 10 being the most excited and 1 being not excited at all. And just go match by match. Tyler, before we do that, though, what are your thoughts overall on the build to this show?
I think it's been solid. I don't really have complaints in the same way that I have in previous pay-per-views, where I think they've kind of had a relative direction. They started building it pretty much right out the jump after the Forbidden Door show with Cope and Christian, and then building that match with FTR. And I really think, well, one, they also got lucky with the fact that they are not using Wardlow in the main event spot. Thank God. I think it's been solid. It's been cohesive, and I think that's something that this company hasn't always done. And I don't think it's been phenomenal. I don't feel like, at least to me, the show is just white hot. But they're going to put probably over 12,000 people in the building, which is always a great thing. It's at least they don't have CFL competition as the Alouettes and Argonauts play on Friday night instead of on Saturday. So that's always a good thing too. Hey, don't mock the CFL.
For local attendance, sure, yeah.
Hey, that's exactly what we're talking about. So they don't have that competition in town. I think this is set to be a really interesting pay-per-view.
Yeah, I think the build's been maybe a little sleepy, but pretty solid in general. So not complaining about it. It's fine, you know. Just trying to pull up and see if there is an update from Russell Tix that they had posted publicly, but it looks like it's behind the Patreon. Okay, last update I've got is from the 16th. So 2 days ago, it was at basically 11,000 tickets distributed. So
yeah, they'll probably break 12 because we've got, from time of recording, about 48 hours until the show starts. I think 12,000. Like, AEW sells tickets late. They always have. All In sold, I think in the last week, they sold something like 6,000 or 7,000 tickets. Like, this company moves a lot of tickets. So seeing 1,000-seat walk up,
not enough. Not enough on the week to week, man.
No, I know. But they kind of did that to themselves with some of their early ticket strategies. And then just inconsistent TV, they're gonna have to figure that part out. But they have the financial backing of Warner Brothers Discovery right now, so they can take them an extra couple months, and it's not that big of a deal. But seeing 1,000 to 1,500 person walk up, or at least over the last 48 hours, really wouldn't be a big surprise.
Yeah, I think that they could hit 12,000 pretty reasonably. I think that's 13,000 might be a stretch.
It's doable though.
It's doable. It's not outside the realm. I would put the odds at, under 50%, but I think it can be pulled off. I think their go home show was pretty good. I like the last segment on the third hour, but the problem was that it really was a rampage ass third hour of this legally distinct from collision situation. But I mean, I think the build's been all right. I feel like Kyle Fletcher's a weak title challenger, if we're being honest. Not a disaster, but it is weak. I think that's pretty fair. Okay, I got some numbers here. So on the 13th, they had 10,495 tickets distributed for All Out. That was on the 13th. On the 15th, they bumped that up to 10,818. So that was about 300 tickets. And then on the 16th, so the next day, they had moved another basically 200. So I think they're I could see them moving maybe 1,000 in the next few days. 2,000, maybe, but again, like I said, I wouldn't hold my breath. So yeah, pretty big card. I think this is definitely a depth kind of card. I don't see a great money match on it, but there's several matches on here that I think are intriguing. And you want to get started?
Let's do it. What do we got first off, Fred?
All right, going. Well, let's start with the pre-show. Now, if I have this understood correctly, they're going to do, what are they calling it? The Tailgate something or other as the pre-show. Tailgate Brawl. It's at 2 p.m. on HBO Max and TNT. But they're also going to be showing basically their talking head stuff elsewhere. So it'll be like a little bit of self-counter programming in a way that doesn't really matter. So on that pre-show right now, they have 3 matches announced, which once again, good work, Tony Khan. And we'll start with the women's match, 8-woman tag, a tornado tailgate brawl. So this is just going to be a bunch of nonsense. You got Harley Cameron, Mina Shirakawa, Queen Aminata, and Willow Nightingale against Megan Bayne, Penelope Ford, Julia Hart, and Sky Blue. I'm at like a 4 on this. It'll be fun enough, I think, but I'm not holding my breath for anything grand, and I think there's definitely potential for like some ugly work in here.
I want to see some Queen Aminata, Megan Bayne spots. That's what I'll be looking for here. I do think it's interesting that they're going with the approach of splitting up the pre-show into like 2 shows. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering if this is Tony Khan almost trying to see how much the talking heads really draw.
Yeah. I don't think it adds anything. I mean, it's fine in between matches and stuff, but like I'm terrified that they're just going to make the pre-shows like nothing but talk, and that does nothing for me. It's just background noise until the show actually starts. So
I kind of like the new format that they've had, which was a half hour of talking heads and then an hour of pre-show matches.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, you get a half hour if you want to catch up on what's going on. Renee Paquette, RJ City, and Jeff Jarrett are going to catch you up, and then you go right into action. I think that rocks.
And they got the I've always enjoyed what they've done with the his words fail me, with the like Road 2 stuff. I've always thought those have been very well done. I don't really watch them much anymore because I'm usually pretty up on stuff, and you kind of see key parts of it in the in the pre-match hype videos, so less essential from my standpoint. But I think they could, I think there's a lot they could be doing. Let me rephrase that, or what I was going to say. I think that the matches, to me, in my mind, I would think the matches would do more with some talking to hype stuff up than just straight up like an hour and a half of just Jeff Jarrett pretending to pick matches. I think they've got good people, to be clear. I obviously we enjoy watching RJ City do his thing. We enjoy Renee is good. She's very professional. Jeff Jarrett is an enjoyable presence, and they usually pull in interesting people, and it's a decent spot to like slide in some promos. I just don't know that it's a needle mover, and that's kind of where I'm coming at it from.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I'm gonna be honest. I know she didn't come from the world of wrestling, but she spent so much time in the world of wrestling. I would really like to see Renee Paquette do something other than professional wrestling, because I think she brings so much value to what her role is. And I think in a different world, her value could skyrocket. And I don't mean that as an insult. I just think what her role is in professional wrestling doesn't carry the same value as if she was like an in-studio host for something like, I don't know, if she did something with the NBA or the NFL.
I mean, she has a great reputation from her time doing whatever the Canadian version of SportsCenter is called.
It's actually called SportsCenter, just the E
but
and
it's
the R.
RE. Yeah, that's what I thought. But she, I just wish there was a more thoughtful way of using her, instead of like, it feels like 15 different joining me at this time, blah, blah, blah segments with her. And it gets really, really repetitive. And there's got to be a better way. I mean, there just has to be. But it's not a knock on her talent. She's clearly very talented. It's just kind of, it's a very WWE like style production that has leaked into the world of AEW, and it's unfortunate. I'm not saying you can't do that at all, but I also think they like rely on it way too much, to the point where like when Swerve Strickland's doing his promo with his back to the crowd on the ramp, it feels like a big, production change. That's that's not that big of a deal, within the realm of things. But it just feels very different because it's relatively rare, and that's kind of frustrating. But anyways, that's the women's match. Coming up next, we've got Daniel Garcia versus Katsuyori Shibata. If this gets like 12 minutes, this could really rip, I think. Shibata's great, obviously. Daniel Garcia, I think, has kind of been put in, like, you see this sometimes with AEW booking where it's like, all right, so we got someone and we are going to eventually turn them, but we don't want to turn them yet, so they're just going to kind of be pushed off to the edge. And I feel like that's very much what has happened with Daniel Garcia. But I'll put this one down as a 7. Not much story to it. Just Garcia's recently turned heel and he needs a face to beat, and that's going to be Shibata here. And but I mean, it could be a really good stiff match if they give it time and if they are inclined to put the effort in on the pre-show.
Yeah, this whole storyline with Garcia is just weird. I'm not fully bought in on the motivations to turn right now. I think they'll get me there. I think they'll make me care. But he just felt like such a rudderless wrestler for so long that why should I care? Like, I just don't think that they've done a good enough job of warranting the heel turn as of yet. But
yeah, my concern is that they're going to just have him do like a "you people" promo, which I don't think is really beneficial here. Like, it's not going to hurt, but it's not really going to put any juice on there. It'd be nice if they found a different way to go about it and have it be a little more unique. Have him cut a promo about how, he's been. What I would do is I would have him cut a promo about how, he was hanging out with Daddy Magic and never getting anywhere because Daddy Magic's complacent. And these baby faces he's been with have been complacent, and he's not going to be complacent. He wants to be a top guy, and that's why he's got to be a Death Rider, because they get results. And I think that would be a smart direction to take it. And hopefully it's not just you fans, you didn't cheer me enough. Like, that's so old hat at this time. Like, that's just WWE turn 101. At this point.
Who should have done that when they turned for the first time?
Who?
I don't think they did. That was the promo for Roman Reigns.
Yeah, that would have actually worked, yeah.
All they did was turn on him. But the You People promos often...
I mean, the You People thing is like one of the 5 plays in the Triple H playbook creatively. And you got ethnic group hanging out. You've got... tag team partners that don't get along after being together for 2 weeks, but they're really different. So for a while, they're going to coexist, even though, one of them is really wacky and the other isn't like that. Oh, spicy food, sushi, that kind of stuff. And then you've got like 8 people in a ladder match or whatever. In buckets. Yeah. All right, our last pre-show match is the Workhorsemen, Anthony Henry and JD Drake. JD Drake still does not have a Wikipedia page, which is kind of amazing. Yeah, I'm pretty damn sure here because it's not linked to from the All Out page, and I read off here. Anthony Henry has a page. No, as far as I can tell, there's no JD Drake page. So tough stuff there. Wikipedia, pretty weird on the wrestling stuff, but that is to be expected from the website that forces blah 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 will feature professional wrestling matches that involve different wrestlers from pre-existing scripted feuds and storylines on every single event page. But I digress. Okay, so it's Henry and Drake against the Op, Samoa Joe, and Powerhouse Hobbs. Your thoughts?
I'm gonna be honest. I'm at a 9. I think this could be really fun. Because
I think it'd be really fun if they got time, but they're going to get like 6 minutes.
Hey, give them 10. Just give them 10. JD Drake just can't move quite as well as he used to, but he can still work and throw bows. Anthony Henry's just going to get thrown around like crazy. And
Oh, he's taking bumps in this.
Oh, yeah. And then what the finish needs to be is Powerhouse Hobbs giving an Arn Anderson spine buster to JD Drake and just driving him through the mat.
Yeah.
Please.
I think this could be fun, but I'm just convinced it's going to be like too short to really get there. And we'll just be left like, oh, man, come on. So I'll check in at like a 6 on this. I'm just kind of pessimistic on how it's going to be treated, but maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe they'll get like 18 minutes and really shock us, and that'd be cool. So
I'd love that, man. I would absolutely love that.
Yeah, it'd be fun. All right, and on to the main card here. With we're going to start from the bottom and work our way up. A 4-way ladder match for the AEW World Tag Team Championship. We've got the Don Callis family pairing of Hechicero and Josh Alexander, which just had a pretty fun little match on Collision last night against Kevin Knight and Mike Bailey, Jet Speed, against the Young Bucks, against Brody King and Bandito. Frankly, I would not have done a multi-man. I feel like a multi-man tag match is one way overplayed in general in wrestling. Like, I don't want to do the whole like Rich Craich, complain about ladder matches thing. No, but I'm not to that level. I think they can still be fun. I really liked actually the WrestleMania weekend SmackDown one this year. Like, that's one of my top 2 WWE matches this year. I actually thought they did a very good job with it, which surprised me because, usually it's such a, in WWE in particular, it's such a, all right, we're going to have a scripted stunt here, and then we're just going to work till the next script is done. Like, very kind of less stuff. I thought that one rocked. And I think this one could be a lot of fun too, but I just feel like with Brody and Bandito as new champs, it would have been much better to have them in like a straight tag. And maybe in this case, I might have preferred if they had done this as a tournament, and have the finals, or I should say the semifinals on this show, and then have them have the build to a Young Bucks Brodito match on the next pay-per-view. But I'm at an 8. I think this could be a lot of fun.
I'm at a 5 for how much I'm looking forward to this match, but I think by the end we're just gonna be like, this was a 9.
Oh yeah, it's the Young Bucks on pay-per-view in a ladder match.
Mm-hmm. And
like,
you got guys.
Don't overthink this,
But Kevin Knight's going to do something spectacular.
Oh yeah, he's going to do something. Mike Bailey's going to do something dumb. Like, God bless him. That guy is a hell of a worker. He's in my top 5 on the year because he just wrestles every week and always has really good to great matches. But he's going to take some bump, and you're like, buddy, that was dumb. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, it's going to end up being good. I'm a little annoyed, I guess, that the Bucks, with their arc right now, are getting a shot at the titles this soon. But you can also write it to where, hey, it's a ladder match, and against 3 other teams. You can intertwine in the story. I just think that they should be waiting to get that shot a little bit longer. You know what I mean?
I agree. It does feel a bit rushed, and that's why I think that like doing this, I should say, as a like a tournament final or something to build to that Brodito match, I think would have worked
better,
a lot better. Yeah, it would have felt better paced. Like we're doing the we're on our way back thing, but like in 2 weeks, and it's way too fast. Like it just feels like we're just really just speed running this, and it's a little much.
Yeah, it is a little much, but hey, you know what? There are worse things in the world, right?
Yeah, I mean, trust me, there are a lot of worse things in the world, but we can criticize the creative a little bit. That's fine. All right, our next match is a straight singles match. It's Big Bill against the returning Mad King, Eddie Kingston. I'm so happy to have Eddie back. I hope he's healthy and ready to go.
What do you think about bringing him back with Big Bill calling him out? It feels kind of like a missed opportunity, right?
It feels a little soft, but if I can keep doing this is a path I could see them taking, kind of fantasy booking bullshit. But this is a thing I could see them doing. Who's been very quiet and kind of conspicuous by his absence, is Chris Jericho.
Ooh.
So again, I'm not pretending I know anything. I don't. No one talks to me, and that's fine. That's probably for the best. But like the thing is that I could see them doing this match, having Eddie Kingston basically whoop ass for 6 minutes. This doesn't feel like a let's try to maximize the star rating kind of match, right? Am I off there? Like, no disrespect to Big Bill and Eddie as workers. I think they're both great workers. But like, I just don't feel like Tony Khan's going to slap his hands together, call him over and be like, all right, let's go for 4.5 stars, So I could see like Eddie beating him relatively quickly, and this leading to the return of Chris Jericho, either to feud with Kingston or to finally actually do the breakup and turn Big Bill babyface. It might be neither of those things. It might just be Eddie winning a 12-minute match. I don't know, but I see that as a potential outcome here. Again, no guarantees. I'll probably forget I even said this by tomorrow. So. But that's just kind of a loose end I see, and that would be a way to tie it together. Assuming that Jericho is coming back. There have been whispers of him going to WWE for a bit now. I don't know that'd be the worst thing, but I also think that Tony Khan would like push really hard for him to stay, just because Tony Khan does not like being outspent for talent. So there you go. Any thoughts from you want to add on this?
I think that's a really interesting point, the Jericho thing. I just feel like with the Death Rider stuff, Eddie could have come back and been like the opposition, and came back during the coffin match and like helped Darby. I
still could.
Yeah. And you know what? Maybe we rely in American wrestling too much on the surprise return. And maybe I'm just overthinking it from that perspective. But yeah. I really thought that they could have done a better job of bringing him back. Is it a big deal? No. But I'm excited to have him back because Eddie rules, man.
He does.
I think AEW is better with Eddie Kingston on the card.
I just sent over the Eddie Kingston Chikara promo. I was asked to give someone like wrestling recommendations to get them started as a fan. And so I sent them 4 matches. And I also was like, okay, just as a promo, like you got to watch this Eddie Kingston promo, the high noon one. We'll go from there. But I just think he's one of the best promos ever, and it kind of sucks that like so much of his career was just only WWE, which was not going to sign someone like Eddie Kingston and use him as Eddie Kingston, and I'm glad we're getting him. We have had this AEW run with him. He's been fantastic in it, but I still feel like there's just so much of a what if with him. Like, what if there was a not insane number 2 U.S. promotion that could have actually used him properly? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, hey, look, at least we've got Eddie Kingston now, right? So better than never, right? On a big stage. Our next match is for the AEW Unified Championship, which I definitely understand as a thing. We need to, just get this whole friggin' Continental Championship thing, just have it be the Continental Championship. Stop merging it with other belts. We don't need the Triple Crown thing. We don't need the Unified thing. Just have it be the Continental Championship, and let's just move on. You can have Okada carry the 87 belts out if you want to. That's fine. But, this is just really kind of over the top for me. Just very unnecessary. But anyways, it is Okada being challenged by Konosuke Takeshita, which I think they've done a good job of building, and then also, I guess, to take a pinfall and extend the feud, Mascara Dorada, who is sticking out on here. He's like the oblivious friend that's along on what was supposed to be a date. The third wheel, Mascara Dorada, but what a third wheel he is. A very good high flyer. They get a good showing. I think it was this week on TV. I've watched a lot of AEW this week trying to get caught up, and so it's kind of jumbling together in my brain. But I think this could be very good. Obviously, this has to be a setup for another match down the road. So they're not like going full bore here as far as like creative or anything. This is the beginning and not the end. But I got to go with like at least an 8 on this, just considering the talent that's in the ring. Now, are we going to get a bunch of like 3-way tropes here that kind of just bring it down a little bit? Possibly. Is it going to be as good as like a 30-minute Okada Takeshita match? Definitely not. But that's not what the spot is, and sometimes that's just how it goes in wrestling. So
I really don't like that they're doing this, but whatever. Like, sometimes I just feel so disconnected from AEW booking, and I think this is one of those things.
yeah.
Like, I don't want to see these two guys in this kind of spot. It just feels like forced bullshit. And
I think the worst part of it was presenting it as a elimination tournament to get to the 3-way triple threat, whatever you want to call it. And having Okada have to win to be in his own championship match, but that match not being a title match, like completely kills the kayfabe. Okay, what if he'd lost? Like would they have been for the belt, but it just would have been vacant? Like that kind of thing drives me crazy. And Tony Khan's got his real sports background, and I can't handle that he's doing this stuff. To me, a sports poison brain guy. It's got to be like more realistic. We can't be doing this, Tony. Please, buddy. But that said, I think this will be at least like this will be an easy 4.25 stars. I don't think it's going to be a 5-star, although it could be if they just like go hard. But yeah, I think it'll be really fun. I think it'll be one of the highlights in the show. I think by the time the show's over, people will be like, yeah, that was really good. So next in order on this list, for some reason it's put here. I never fully understand how they come up with these like midweek match listings on Wiki, but it's Kyle Fletcher challenging Adam Page for the AEW World Championship. This is with the stipulation that if anyone from the Don Callis family interferes, Fletcher will be DQ'd and stripped of the TNT title. Now, I'm assuming what they're not going to do what the like stupid booking brain thought would be with this stipulation, which is they debut someone that is not yet in the Don Callis family to have Kyle Fletcher win and then announce he's in the Don Callis family because, why respect your rules or audience at all? I mean, they're just going to I think it's pretty clear they're going to have Hangman win this. This is part of like Kyle Fletcher will be the top star in a couple years, but we're giving him a little bit of the on top right now to kind of make sure people know that that's the deal. And yeah, I mean, I think this match will rock. I think this could be a match of the year candidate by the time everything's done. And I think these two guys are both fantastic performers. So I think this is a very exciting match. I think the build to it has been very solid. I'm not exactly like super juiced for it, but it has been done in a good way. And so I can't really like rip it or anything. I just feel like it's been a little like stayed, I guess is how I'd put it. But I think the match will rock. So I'm at it like a 9 because of match quality here.
I'm really interested to see the direction they lay this out. I'm at a 9 too, because I think just on paper, these two did not meet in the Continental Classic. Or not the Continental Classic, the Owen Hart Memorial Tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Because this would have been a sick match. So I do think it's a really cool, it might be a first-time singles match. I don't recall them ever facing off as singles before. And I think that is really cool. I do find it odd that Fletcher's the TNT champion, but it is kind of like a throwaway defense because they really didn't have anything for Hangman. MJF is still looming, but obviously, at Forbidden Door, losing the match the way he did, and then how everything has kind of devolved with this whole contract thing, kind of taking a little bit of a pause with that made some sense. I'm glad it's not Wardlow. I can tell you that.
Boy, what was your thought when you saw that report?
Considering how green he was before he got hurt and went on his hiatus, and then for him to come back and be placed in the world title match where you're presumably going 25 minutes. Oh, buddy. Like, you need to treat Wardlow like Goldberg. Have him come in, do cool shit, do power moves, get out in 5 minutes. There is nothing wrong with that. He's not ready to be that kind of guy yet. Will he ever get there? At this point, I don't think so. But obviously, Tony Khan believes in Wardlow, believes he can be something. Will he be? He's got a presence, but I would not have booked his first match back as a world title match. Hell no. Hell no. What I'm really curious about here is, and because of how many, actually, my initial thought was because there's 10 matches on the main card, they won't do it, but they'll want to fuck with WrestlePalooza. I could see this going 60 and being a time limit draw because you don't want to beat Kyle Fletcher. It's not a big deal if he loses to the world champ, but you don't want to beat him. So I think this goes 60.
I had to warn my wife. So All In went long, and that was a big point of conversation forever after that show.
My wife was flying to Arizona in the morning.
She was angry with you.
Mad. And you know what? Completely fair. Because
I
thought
it was
this
fair.
would be a 4-hour show, and then we would do our show.
And then we go home. We have 3 hours left to be 7 p.m. here.
When my buddy left at 8 o'clock, and then I went up into the office, she was mad. She was real mad.
My wife, Nicole, she was not that bad, but she was notably unhappy. And so I had to be like, hey, listen, there's some stupid stuff going on, just to let you know. Fair warning. And she was like, oh, God, I hope not. I'm like, I'm just letting you know this show could run long and could be because of stuff like that. But, you know, I guess we'll see. I don't think this would benefit from a 60-minute time limit draw. I think that'd be a bit much.
Hold on.
Yeah.
We have some breaking news that I think might make this a time limit draw.
Oh dear.
Cena and Lesnar will not be the main event of WrestlePalooza. It
they're
will
opening
open the show.
Oh God. Yeah, they're gonna go 90 minutes. Shit. Come on.
Okay, so let's do napkin math here, okay? So
5 hour long time.
They are starting the show at 2 Central Time. WrestlePalooza, I believe, starts at 6 Central Time. So that's 4 hours. This show, a lot of AEW pay-per-views have been going into the 4.5 hour territory. They've been ending around 11:30 Central Time. So you're looking at it from that perspective. Like, even if you go a little longer, they could go for the entirety of Cena Lesnar. And then theoretically, that's the drawing match. So if you're watching AEW and you get done with the show and Cena Lesnar's already done, there could easily be plenty of AEW people like, I'll just catch that one later. I don't need to watch any of the show. The match I wanted to see is already over.
Yeah, man. I mean, it is. It's going to be a shit show. I don't think the consumer is being served by this at all. That sucks. I mean, both companies. I mean, it's not going to get better anytime soon. You know, from either end. We're going to get a bunch of this. We're going to get WWE keep trying to double. It's just such a shame how their shows always just happen to end up on the same day as AEW big shows, and then they're going to try to chase AEW around the schedule. They were going to move again, is the report. The WWE was going to move their show a second time to try to like match the new AEW time, just to try to mess with them more. And I forget if it was like the broadcaster told them no, or if it was the building or what. But
Why wouldn't ESPN, who's paying like essentially $300 million per show, I think is what it boils down to, or is it?
It's a ridiculous amount.
It's 30-some million per show because it's like $360 a year. Why wouldn't you say no? I want to maximize viewers. Stop doing this bullshit.
Yeah, that is the eternal question, and
have a goddamn spine. Seriously.
WWE would need ESPN a lot more than vice versa. I would have to think. I'd have to think that's the case for any broadcaster with WWE or AEW. That the need is far more on the wrestling promotion to make the money to stay open / profitable than the other way around. But because I mean, like, look, yes, WWE is in their best period in 2 decades. It's not that big. We are nowhere close to, like, you know, the peak of like Austin, etc. And you know, it baffles my mind that these broadcasters are letting any of this happen. That the pay-per-view providers or whatever aren't like going to yell at AEW, or maybe Tony Khan is just making sure to purchase enough time, if that's even still a thing anymore. I guess it would have to be with the traditional cable providers, but it's so dumb. But fortunately, that's the only dumb thing going on in the world right now. So, God bless it, man. Okay, moving on. We've got a 4-way for the Women's World Championship. Jamie Hayter, Chris Statler, and Thekla all against Toni Storm. Again, this is another match. Like, I understand that they want to get women on, you know, all the women on, and that makes sense and so on. But like, this would be much better as just a singles, you know. But
by the way, it's Tekla, not Thekla.
I will never remember that.
I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
I will never remember that.
Pack dilemma.
I understand that the pronunciation, like how it's supposed to work, but my brain just will not accept it. It's just that information is not sticking. But yes, Tekla. And I promise by next week I'll be right back to Thekla. All apologies. I should know better. I just don't. I'm just how God made me, which is kind of dumb. But I mean, this will be all right. I think. I mean, it'll be like good enough. These are 4 good workers. I think maybe Tekla is the weakest. I would say in ring performer of the 4. And she's good. Like, that's not. Don't take that as like a real rip on her. I'd still say she's easily top half of the AEW women's division. But you know, I think the 4-way is going to kind of limit it. This is probably going to hit like 3.5 stars for me, and I'll just wish that they'd spend the time instead. I mean, I would much rather watch any of the 3, I should say, against Toni Storm 1-on-1. But here we are. You know, this is also like the 5th match on the show. Although Toni Storm, I think you could really still argue is the top star of the company. I think that's pretty reasonable take right now.
She just doesn't have enough foils that are built to really be an equal for her.
Yeah, but if they build a damn, you know, focused on one of these 3 people for a pay-per-view cycle, I think they'd probably be much more viable as a challenger. But
you kind of mentioned earlier in the show with Daniel Garcia how he was just kind of floating in the ether. Mm-hmm. That's Willow Nightingale right now,
buddy. Don't get me started on Willow Nightingale, and I guess Chris Statlander to that extent.
Statlander is a weird one because she dealt with so many injuries to where,
yeah. I
mean, I'm going to be honest. I kind of wrote her off a little bit, and like the work that she's done over the past 6 months or so has really evolved my opinion to where I do think she is one of the better women in this company. And you can,
yeah, I think she's really good. Weak on promos. I think she did not come off great in that little promo segment with Toni Storm this week and Hayter. I was a little surprised to come away from that thinking that Hayter was like a noticeably better on mic presence than Stat, but that's kind of how I evaluate it. Just my dumb opinion. But like, I think she's a fantastic in-ring performer and a unique one, like just because she's so damn strong. But like the fact that Willow's just kind of been slumming it for like almost a year now is easily like one of the worst things Tony Khan has done in booking in that time period. It's not as disastrous as like early, you know, Death Riders or various other things, or like some of the like that bad like the Page MJF finish that I thought was way overdone or whatever. But Willow should be a money character by this point, and I don't feel like she is, and it's not because of the lack of talent on her part. And I don't think they're in danger of missing the window with her. And I understand that you've got Toni Storm and Mercedes Moné, but maybe you could have 3 high-level women stars on your roster. That might sound crazy, but I've heard it's possible.
Yeah. I'm very curious to see Willow's direction, because the obvious one in our heads is she's beating Mercedes for the TBS title. And I contend that title needs to be a Haas title. That is how you keep them separate. And you have all the powerhouse women go for this title. And because you have powerhouses in this division. You have Willow. You have Stat. You have Megan Bain. You have Jamie Hayter, who may not have the stature, but definitely has the move set. And then you can have all these smaller wrestlers, like Mercedes works so well with the bigger women, the powerhouses. You can keep this separate. Like Tekla is a powerhouse, but she's a little bit on the shorter stature. Like you can do something different with this title, and they need to kind of speed up. I know some of it's Mercedes, and you want this belt collector gimmick. She has 9 or 10 titles at this point.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty cool, but at a certain spot, you got to start losing some of these.
I don't think you should rush it just to have her drop the belt, just to have it be that case. But I think it's a lot more interesting if you have Mercedes dealing with the fact that she lost, and like that kind of character arc could be interesting.
I think the first title she should lose is the TBS title.
Yes,
and then
I agree.
One by one, she loses the rest of them, and it becomes like a crisis in confidence.
Or dare I say, have Willow just win them all in the one match? If you want to go like the full. I think like that visual of like Mercedes Moné dealing with the fact that she lost them all in one fell swoop to Willow Nightingale, I think would be a good, interesting, creative.
It would be, but I don't. Yeah, that screws over everybody, every other promotion, because nobody gets a win back over Mercedes. Like that's the whole idea of her doing this belt collector gimmick, right?
Sure, but like, do you think that it's really going to hurt them significantly if the win is back over Willow instead after that big angle?
I think on a worldwide stage, Willow is significantly lesser than Mercedes as far as a prestige level. So yeah, I do.
Okay, fair.
I think from a quality,
you can also have Monet win them back from Willow. Like that's not exactly a one-way street.
I don't like that.
Okay, fair.
Like I didn't like Christian beating Kenny Omega for the Impact title, and then Christian dropped it on Impact Television.
I agree with that. There were injury issues there. I think this was a different circumstance, though, compared to the hypothetical I offered.
I think that's fair too. I don't think you should.
But I get where you're coming from. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong by any stretch.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool EFED storyline that you play through and you kind of see how things work, but I wouldn't do it here.
Please give me a bonus push point in TNM when you semi-match. All right, coming up. Man, I bought TNM again recently. I forgot that I bought it 3 years ago. So I bought it again. Keeping Oliver Cup in the marks. But like, oh man, I wish I had more time to play around with that. Okay, so since we're talking Monet, why don't we just go ahead and jump to her match? So she's defending the TBS title against Riho, who has been remembered by Tony Khan. Get the mothballs off of both her and Emi Sakura also brought back for that one Dynamite match out of nowhere.
You know what Riho is? In America, you have on average, you get like 2 weeks of vacation time. Riho just has 2 weeks of work time. Like,
Would you like to guess? Well, okay, so there was an injury here with Riho. I forgot about that actually for a second, but she suffered that injury in the match against Lady Frost back in last July. How old do you think Riho is? I know this is like this probably is a spoiled conversation because I feel like we've done this before, but it's still.
I think she's 29.
She is 28.
Oh, I was so close.
With 19 years, according to Cage Match, 19 years of ring experience. That's always just the.
Was she the 9-year-old that Omega faced when he was?
She was not. She was not. That was someone else.
Okay.
That was that like Chairman Rom? Is that her name?
I don't remember, but
Chairman Ram Kaicho, who is still wrestling in 666. As well as like Oz Academy and a couple Tokyo Joshi Pro appearances recently, it looks like. Ram Kaicho, she's keeping busy. Ram Kaicho is working a lot more than Riho. Anyways, look, I liked Riho a lot at the start of the company. I feel like we've definitely learned that it was Kenny Omega that liked the idea of having Joshi workers in regularly and not Tony Khan. This is obviously a Mercedes win. Like there's no way. Like there's absolutely no chance that Riho is winning this. I cannot imagine. If Mercedes suffers like that, a terrible ankle injury again, God forbid, don't want it to happen. But if she did, I think they'd have to find a way for her to cradle Riho. Like it's that bad of a situation. I think it was just Monet wanted to work with her, and they brought her back for like 2 weeks. This could be good. I just feel like Riho feels very out of time in AEW. Like it's like you look over and out of nowhere 2019's right there. And you're like, whoa, what happened? What happened here? Not a complaint. I wouldn't complain if she was around more, but that's kind of where she slots in right now.
Yeah. I kind of like this match, but I'm a little worried that this could end up being a net negative, because the one thing with Mercedes is she is prone to duds, and she is prone to poor matches, and most of those are against women who aren't powerful. She's like, one of the reasons why her and Charlotte had such great chemistry was Charlotte's a powerhouse, and she works really well as like the underneath babyface. She's prone to having duds at someone who's at similar size. So I think that this is a really interesting match from what are you going to get? It's like going to a Motley Crue concert. Are you going to get drugged up and drunk Vince Neil, or are you going to get sober Vince Neil who's run around and sounds great?
Yeah.
Like I say that because I did an episode of Music of the Mat with Andrew Rich a couple weeks ago. You should go check that out. But my first concert ever was Motley Crue, and I'll never forget sitting with my buddy who had gone to like 4 other shows. He's like, "There's a chance this really sucks." I'm like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Well, I've been to 4 Motley Crue shows. 2 times Vince Neil ruled. 2 times he was absolute dog shit because he was either drunk or high, and he sounded like crap. We got good Vince Neil that night." And when it comes to Mercedes, she is prone to have those kind of duds.
I think it's been a bit since she had a dud, but I will also say that when she does have duds, despite her obviously loving Joshi workers, it tends to be with Joshi workers. I feel like that's a thing, maybe. That's just, I don't know, maybe that's unfair, maybe I'm wrong, but like off the top of my head, I think that tends to happen. And or at least like underwhelming matches relative to expectations. So I think that's also a possibility here. I don't think that tag match that her and Emmy had against what was it, Riho and I think Alex Windsor was any great shakes. So I don't know. That could be an interesting thing to see. This could, I do think there is a slight, but not impossible chance that this will be like a 15-minute stinker. All right, we got 4 more matches to go through. So we got Mark Briscoe and MJF in a tables and thumbtacks match getting a little plunder here, and what one presumes will be yet another MJF win over Mark Briscoe, who gets a lot of time on AEW TV and never wins, seemingly, which is a little sad.
Fuck that. Put Mark Briscoe over.
I mean, it'd be cool. I would think about doing it, frankly. I think MJF's more or less bulletproof in AEW. And I think Mark Briscoe could. I've said since basically his return after the death of Jay that I think Mark Briscoe could be like an actual main eventer in AEW, but it's pretty clear they're not going to use him like that. So, but I think this could be a lot of fun. I think Mark Briscoe could do some really dumb stuff, complimentary. And this could end up if next week, if I were to be teleported next week and be told that most people thought this was the best match of the night, I would not be shocked. I think that's well within their own possibilities. I'm going to check in at like a 9 on this.
I'm at a 9. Look, this is one of those situations that we talked about a lot, Fred, where at the end of the day, Briscoe's just mega over, and maybe you just got to push him.
They should probably try. I do worry that maybe we've already missed the peak, but
he's still over everywhere, and it's organic. And I think this is kind of, I don't want to relate it to Nitro, but I'm going to relate it to Nitro. And one of the things that Nitro did so well was everything felt so real because you used like shoot names, you used reality-based characters, and it felt real, especially in comparison to WWF at that time, which everything was super cartoony. And I do think that aspect is really interesting because Mark Briscoe feels so authentic and so real, and you can connect to him as a human, not just as a wrestler, as a character. I think that is a really interesting idea for how to continue to make it AEW different from WWE. Push reality, not force storylines, but just push for authenticity. And Mark Briscoe just oozes it. You can sniff out fake bullshit a mile away. But everything he does just is, it resonates with you on the human side.
I think he's a very relatable character. I think he's a very grounded to realism character. I just think they aren't going to push him as a top guy. I just don't think Tony Khan sees him as that compared to like MJF and Page and Omega and Swerve and so on and so forth. And like I get it to an extent. Like, he is, he's wrestled a hard career. He's got to be what, like 40 at this point. 40. He's not. If he was like 27, I'd be much more like, dude, we really need to do something with this guy. But it feels like a self-fulfilling prophecy here, too, because he could have started 2 years ago. And, like by this point, have him as an actual main eventer. And I think he would have be a draw. But, I also think that the return of Eddie Kingston is going to make this harder for main eventer Mark Briscoe to be a reality. Because you could argue that Eddie Kingston does a lot of the same stuff, checks a lot of the same boxes, and is possibly, we'll see on his return, but I think he had a better connection with the crowd between the two of them. It wasn't by a big margin or anything. I just think that they gave Eddie more main event run, and he's more of a proven, top guy of the two. So,
yeah, I think we can only use hindsight for this.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, you don't know if something was going to work or not.
No.
And when you make a choice to go with X over Y, you are doing so thinking that that's your best course of action. But at the end of the day, you really don't know. You think you know, you think you have the data to help project forward, but you won't know for sure. And I'm curious if Tony Khan looks back and realizes that, hey, maybe I should have just pushed Eddie. And then maybe I should have just pushed Mark. Maybe I should have just pushed Will Ospreay, which that one I would argue they shouldn't have done because everything that they've done since that has worked. You got Swerve over as a top star. Hangman Page is mega over. Now, is he drawing as well as he should? I'd say that's less about Hangman and more about company because your television product isn't getting what it should in the buildings. And I think that's just from years-long inconsistency on television rather than people wanting to see Hangman Page. But you can look back at some of these things and maybe he figured, oh, you know what? I should have just pushed Eddie. And then maybe the next guy finally gets that push. But it's so hard to be uber critical in the moment because you just don't know if what they're trying is going to work. And that's the tough part.
Yeah. And, it's easy to say someone should have been pushed and then, becomes do you divert those resources from like Swerve, who I think is a tremendous success for this company. And I think pushing him was an absolute right call. Just so on and so forth. Anyways, we got a coffin match, Darby Allin against Jon Moxley. I think this will be stupid as hell. I think this will be a great match. Two guys that aren't notorious for making the best decisions for their health in terms of in-ring work. I think this could be a real, this again is a match of the year contender potential here. So I'm going to check it out of 10 on this.
You got to remind me what match.
Mox Darb.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah. Like, there's so much more I could say, but I mean, it's just these two in a coffin match. Jesus. I just hope that no one takes, like, a really bad career-altering bump. That's my biggest thing when you get these two together in a match with a coffin.
So, I was at one of the best Dynamites ever, which was Quake at the Lake in Minneapolis. It also happened to be arguably the worst Rampage of all time, which is just incredible. The fact that they were so different. Yeah. I am really excited for what this match will be, but I'm excited for what's going to happen surrounding the match. What's going to happen with the Death Riders? Who's going to help Darby? Et cetera, et cetera. That to me is more enticing than the actual match itself, which is kind of wild to say because the match itself sounds fucking great.
Buddy, I am. This is my stuff. This is my kind of thing. I expect some stuff that is going to make me cringe, and yeah. Okay, so that leaves us with trios match: Ricochet, Bishop Khan, and Toa Liona against the Hurt Syndicate, Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, and MVP, who is looking pretty spry this week. I don't have like high hopes for this. This feels very much like a 9-minute give the Hurt Syndicate a strong win kind of match. And getting the pin on, I assume, Bishop Khan. Because Toa Liona very rarely takes falls, and they're going to protect Ricochet. I don't have super high hopes for this. Like, it'll be all right. I don't think it'll be bad by any stretch, but like it'll just be like, I think pretty short. So I'll go with a 6.
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you. It feels like a well built match, but I also don't care to ever watch Cope wrestle again. Really don't.
Well, we're talking Hurt business here. Get ahead of yourself.
Oh, geez. I had some issues with my headphones. My brain is just all
You
kinds
got to
of
get hyped up for the worst, for the AEW pay-per-view with the weakest main event of the year, buddy. Get in. We're going to All Out.
Oh, the Hurt Business rules, though. I really enjoy.
They're a fun act. They're definitely a fun act.
Lashley and Leona had a really good match on. What was it? September to Remember.
Yeah, that was this week's. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that'd be really. I think that. Sorry. Brain fart. I think that giving Lashley just having a lot of. Giving him a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I think bodes really well for what this match could be. I also think it would be good for the Hurt Business to lose and get pinned. And MVP's just going to take the pin. Who gives a shit? And then I think
he could.
Then you can maybe grow this. You know what I mean?
I think that it is possible that if they lose, MVP will take the fall. But I just think that Hurt Business will win. I think that follows the booking. They're keeping them very, very strong. It feels like they're more important to the roster, or to the creative, I should say, than the Ricochet Gates of Agony act. That's just the vibes I'm getting. I think this is kind of a treading water until MJF moves on from Briscoe to the Hurt Business. This is kind of the vibes I'm getting. But yeah, I also think this is arguably the least important match on the card. Assuming Ricochet's team doesn't get the win, so I think it's the least gonna change or have an impact on the creative going forward. So, Hurt Syndicate loss here will be pretty noteworthy, but that's just my take. Okay, then what I assume is going to be our main event. We've got FTR against Adam Copeland and Christian Cage. This one, I think, is going to be interesting. I do think Adam Copeland hasn't been bad in AEW, but I think he did not need to be near the top of the card. I feel like this reunion act is a better usage of him and Christian than just than either being in the actual main event. I think that FTR is the perfect foils here. It's pretty obvious they're going to have the baby faces win. They should. I think they'd be overthinking it if they were but what about the heat? This is a circumstance where you don't need the heat. I think you'd need the payoff. And this could be fun. I think we've seen Copeland and Cage both show themselves to be able to still having pretty good matches at their age. As critical as I am of Copeland at times in particular, I think that he can still go a little bit. He just is kind of pretty WWE brained in a certain way, and some of that stuff I think doesn't work well in AEW. I think the company needs to really distinguish itself from WWE and avoid that stuff. But I think with FTR in there, this has the potential to be a really strong match, and I think they've built it well. I think heel FTR has been fantastic. I think they've been really, really good as an act, and I like the addition of Stoke. So with these, I think this has the potential to be great. I think the crowd will be super invested. So even if it's a little weak in the ring, I think they'll be into it, and that'll help cover that up some. I don't know. I'll check in at an 8 on here. I think this could be a surprise.
I think it could be a surprise too, and I think one of the big things with this, I'm more at a 6 or a 7, just because I really don't give a shit to see Cope wrestle ever again.
Yeah.
But the one thing that really gives me hope for this is that they're in Toronto and they're gonna want to put.
Yeah, I think that could make it a special thing. I don't know that I'm going to be particularly excited about it going, after the Cope and Christian act. I don't know if I'm going to be excited about it going forward, but for this show, I think it's a cool pairing. I think it's a cool storyline that has worked well. I think Copeland referring to themselves as one of the greatest tag teams of all time is a bit strong, but I don't think it's such a bad claim that it deserves the Joe Lanza listing 100 better tag teams thing. which was fantastic audio about the Dudleys. When Bubba Ray said that about them. But like, I don't know, it didn't bother me nearly as much as the Bubba Ray statement. So, but I think this will be, a fun main event cap to this show. And I think if the crowd reacts appropriately, then it'll be putting it on last the right decision. And I assume they're going to. That they're going to put it on last and that the crowd will react appropriately.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit it on the head. I think the crowd is this is the crowd pleaser match. Like,
yeah.
I know there's a lot of hand-wringing about Nigel McGuinness getting IWGP World Title shot. That was just for the crowd, and they needed a reason to get Zack Sabre Jr. in the building, and I think that's why there was so much annoyance over it. Now, if you want to be annoyed about how they got there, I think that's completely fine, but this is just to please the crowd. And you know what? I think FTR could put in the performance of the night here just by being dickwad heels.
Oh, I mean, I think they're so good that, that they could very well like play a key role in this getting legit match of the year votes. I mean, like I said, this is a deep card. I don't think it's a particularly marquee strong card, at least in the world title scene, but it could be a real hell of a show.
Yeah, it could be. I'm very intrigued by it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I kind of hate that it's going against a pretty interesting college football Saturday, but that's just how life is. Sometimes you got to sack up and choose to watch one thing or the other. Illinois, Indiana is a really weird high-level football game. Both teams, this could be like a playoff eliminator essentially. So I'm pretty excited for that. But
oh hell yeah! Look, if I was going to a wedding, Illinois, Indiana would probably be getting sound. I'm so excited for that game.
Yeah, I never really am like hey, look, you're doing your wedding, but what's really important is the college football kind of thing. Like that's not my style, but like I'd be keeping a browser window open and checking my phone as often as I could respectfully. If I was away for that game, I nearly said match because I'm just plugged in from the pay-per-view talk. Yeah, I think both teams are very good, and it'll be a really telling match. So I'm excited for that. And I did not realize that Texas Tech Utah was at noon, but that's some sicko stuff because that's like 10 a.m. local. That's stupid, but those are two very good teams as well, Utah and Texas Tech. So be interested in that.
Big noon kickoff, baby. Let's go. Get into it.
Yeah. I don't know any other AEW stuff more importantly, but even college football that you want to talk about or
no, man. I'm
going to hit you with a quick question. Would you neutrally, would you rather be a Florida fan or a Kentucky fan at this very point in time? Like which fan base do you think is more unhappy?
Florida, because there are actual expectations.
I think that's where I am too, because I was just like, yeah, Kentucky's going to be the worst team in the SEC again. What's new?
Nothing.
Like this happens like at least 5 out of 10 years. So it's whatever. Just tell me when basketball season's here. It's basically the deal around locally.
Pretty much, yeah.
I think Florida. I don't know about Billy Napier, and I think Florida's got a lot of talent and could recover, but they're in a tough spot. That's a hard-ass schedule.
It's a hard-ass schedule. It's not just the hard-ass schedule. It's the hardest-ass schedule in the country.
Yeah, I mean, I always feel like that such things are, like, really tough to, like, it's always a little, like, what's the term I'm looking for here? Simplified, but, like, no, Florida's schedule is disgustingly hard. And,
you know what's wild, though? If DJ Lagway has 4 throws go differently, they're 3-0.
Yeah.
That defense has only allowed 31 points in.
That defense is really good. Like, but something's not right with Lagway, and he threw 5 picks in one game last week. Very rare.
To me, that specifically is because he did not throw all of spring practice. He wasn't a full participant for half of fall camp. That's a problem.
Yeah, and I know the wide receivers were very injured during camp too, and there's all these reasons why, but it doesn't change the fact that it's happening and is pretty bad. Mm-hmm. So you got to hope for, if you're a Florida fan, which you are, I would definitely be hoping for something to be figured out soon, because without him being at least decent, this team's with this schedule. If he gets together, you guys, I could see you all winning multiple games down the stretch, which doesn't sound like much of a compliment, but Florida would scare me. Florida will scare me when you guys come into town for that game. But if you were to tell me that if DJ Lagway was healthy, I'd be yeah, they could beat Texas. I could see that happening, but he apparently is not, so I'm not holding my breath. Billy Napier is going to be somewhere else than Gainesville in a few months, it feels like.
Oh, yeah. He will be. And it's... Man. I hate this team sometimes. I hate them.
Good times. Anyways, that'll do it for our show this week. I just wanted to get my BS in here. And that's it. So you can sponsor us on Red Circle, right? Or is it Bubble? Red Circle. I always mess that up. You can email us at the email address that I have definitely been checking regularly for a while. Don't worry about it. It hasn't been 3 weeks since I last opened it. It's hungeepod, HUNGEEPOD@gmail.com. You can talk with us in our little channel in the Voices of Wrestling Discord server. Just look for it under podcasts. We are, of course, the Good, the Bad, and the Hungee. Thanks for checking us out. Tyler, did I tell you that we're getting media updates from Fale Dojo?
No way.
Yeah. Yeah, I just realized I had not told you that, but that's how you've made it in the world.
I love it. That rules.
Hey, look, I ain't going to complain about someone sending me info about their wrestling company. Do that. Seriously. I'm not going to pay for a seminar with Jado. I just don't think that that's going to help my career out much, but please tell me. So, that's it. Hope everyone has a great week. Enjoy the show. We'll be back with you next week sometime to talk about it as soon as our schedules get worked out. I will be traveling a fair bit, so it may be a little bit, but we'll get it done. So for Tyler, I'm Fred. This is the show. I'm wrapping it up. Y'all take care. Have a good one.
My name is Tyler Fornes, and I am one of the co-hosts of the Good, the Bad, and the Hungee AEW podcast here on the Voice of Wrestling Podcasting Network. We take a broad scope approach to the world of All Elite Wrestling and the entire universe of Tony Khan. We talk about the big matches, the big stars, the promos, the storylines. And we also look at it from a big picture perspective. How are things going to change over the course of the next 10 years with AEW still in the picture? How are companies like WWE going to adapt and adjust to AEW? Are they going to be a similar way like they did with WCW in the late 1990s? Will there be a counterpunch? We talk about all of that and more on The Good, the Bad, and the Hungee every week on the Voices of Wrestling Network.
Hey everybody, my name is Jesse Collins, and I am the host of the Gentleman's Wrestling Podcast, a show right here on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. On the Gentleman's Wrestling Podcast, we take a deep look at individual issues and stories that are going on in the wrestling world. Each episode is about a different topic, and we take a thorough and educated look at things ranging from current booking trends to breakdowns on individual performers and angles to investigations into different fan cultures across the industry. In addition, we keep a close eye on the wrestling media, and as a professional journalist, I bring a unique perspective to how current issues in wrestling are being covered and discussed through the wrestling media. We have a revolving series of guests from across wrestling punditry joining us on each episode, and we hope that you make the choice to give us a listen on wherever you get your podcast from.